What's up, everybody? Happy 2023. It is the Bodacious Rant back again with Burn and Rye, the first episode of the year. I hope everybody's doing great. And, everybody's year is starting off so well. How's your year been so far, Burn? I know it's only been literally a couple weeks, but how are you, my friend?
You know, it hasn't been too bad. Surprisingly, January is off to a really good start, compared to a lot of other years, and in terms of content stuff, obviously.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, because I was like, you know what, it was kind of sad because Ken Block died, and it was just rest in peace, Ken. He was a big person in the car world, for those of you who don't know. But yes, Burn, yeah, that's good. Content wise, it's actually surprisingly off to a good start. Especially movies wise, because I know. Yeah. You just saw Plane. You had good things to say about it. We saw Megan, on different times, and that one actually wasn't that bad. Mm-hmm. Does it deserve its extremely high rating? I don't think so, but you know what? That's fine. It did good regardless. So, yeah. But we're talking about something more important. We're talking about Stranger Things season 5, and this is where it's going to go on to. Oh wait, never mind. Hasn't talked about that. No, just kidding. Guys, this is a very big deal right now in just pop culture in general because. The Last of Us has finally dropped on HBO with its first episode, and wow, I think this show has finally broken the video game curse. No offense to The Witcher or anything like that, because The Witcher it's more of a book show, more related off the books than it is the game, so technically it doesn't count. But I know a lot of gamers who play The Witcher watch the show as well. But this is purely based off of the game that came out, I think, 2013, 2014 by Naughty Dog. And it is one of the best games of all PlayStation history. Since the PlayStation's been around for the last, 20 years, 20-something years, it's a big deal. So, it's starring Bella Ramsey from Game of Thrones, who was one of the Queens of the North in the last, in the first shows of Game of Thrones. And Pedro Pascal from, The Mandalorian, Triple Frontier, all kinds of stuff. He's also in Game of Thrones, so it's kind of funny that they're both from that. And then Gabriel Luna, who hasn't been a whole lot, but yeah, he's definitely one of my favorite people in pop culture because he was the Terminator in Dark Fate and Ghost Rider in Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Easily the best Ghost Rider they've done. So, and like I said, it's based off the video game. We're not going to spoil it, though. We're not going to talk really about the whole game just because this show is supposed to be really taken off of that, based on that, following closely to the game. So we don't want to spoil it for you guys. We're just going to mostly talk about the show, how it corresponds to the game, just letting everybody know. But this is a spoiler episode, so before we get started, just want to remind you guys, if you haven't seen this episode, please come on back and then check it out after you watch it, just so we don't ruin anything for you. And of course, it's with it being the new year, some stuff just never changes. Give us a like. Please ring the bell, and of course subscribe. We really appreciate you. But Bern, what were your first thoughts of this episode before we dive into the spoilers?
I mean, this was really just best case scenario. Once I heard that they were going to make a HBO adaptation of the game, I couldn't have been more happy. I mean, the two Last of Us games were two of my favorite games of all time, and so I really like this story. I really like these characters. So the fact that we got the showrunner from Chernobyl, and we got Neil Druckmann, who was the creator of the game and the writer and director of the two games, was on board. It's okay, this is gonna do this justice, and if the rest of the series is like this first episode, they have done this justice. I couldn't have been more happy with this. It seems like they've done what a lot of other video game adaptations sort of fail to do, which is adapt what's in the game but also expand on it in a meaningful way. And I think a lot of the things that we do see in this episode that aren't in the game aren't in the service of the story overall. So that's what you want to see. You don't want to see them deviate from the story that we've gotten and do just really weird things with it, like a lot of other video game adaptations have done. We want the core story, and we want some things added on to sort of flesh it out more for a TV or a movie audience, So the fact that they pulled that off here in this first episode, it makes me even more excited for the next 8 to come out, because I really want to see this story on live action and on the TV screen, but also having played the games and all that, I want to see what they sort of add on to it, and how they build this world out, because we're not so point of view focused. Like in a video game, you're playing the character, you're following them the entire time. Here, there's that opportunity to see what's going on in different sections and what's going on with other characters. So, yeah, it's just amazingly well done so far. I couldn't have been more happy with this premiere episode.
Yeah, the only thing that made me nervous about when I first heard about it was that it's HBO. Not that HBO has been bad, but sometimes their budget can really show. Like in Game of Thrones, like there was plenty of episodes it was great, but then there's also a handful of episodes that wasn't so good. Like, this is what we're getting out of you guys. Come on, like, work the budget better, kind of thing. Balance it out, and that's easier said than done. I don't mean to be an asshole, but I'm just being a picky fan. But no, this first episode definitely gave me faith for the rest of this season. I hope they keep this accuracy up. And exactly, now I don't mind deviating from the story as long as it services like what the game was really about, and that is exactly what a lot of games, video game adaptations, really lose all opportunity on. Specifically, Resident Evil movies and even some of the animated stuff has been okay. Well, I mean, I know the Netflix show didn't do good. Neither show on Netflix did great at all, and that's a big disappointment. And most of the movies have just completely deviated to the point where, like, okay, yeah, there's this from the game, but that doesn't mean shit because it's not exactly what it was from the game. Like, there's no point to it. It's just thrown in there to pay service to it.
Like, it's really just the name. That's the same thing. Like, there's nothing in it that nearly resembles what happens at the video game. So it's like, yeah, why even call it the same thing?
Exactly. And I think The Last of Us is definitely a great way being adapted into a show, so that way you can really explore other parts of this that we never saw in the game or we couldn't experience in the game. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. I don't know how the rest of the season is going to play out. Is it going to play through the whole game, the first game? I don't know, because if they try and do like each season, each game, then they're going to run out real quick because there's only been 2 games so far. So they're going to have to find a way to break it up in a very good way. But let's get started on the spoilers side. What do you say, Burn?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really ready to talk about it, man. I'm just ready to talk. I'm so excited that, not only us who played the game, and have a PlayStation can enjoy this. Like, I'm ready to see what, like, other people think about this, So, yeah, I'm ready to get right into it, to talk to you about it, and to talk to other people who haven't experienced this story yet.
Fantastic. So, like I said, guys, definitely come on back if you haven't seen it. But now let's get started with it. Man, I think this is, I would say, for a zombie apocalypse themed like story, this intro is on point, not only with the game, but almost like Dawn of the Dead. I think those are the 2 best examples of how you kind of get thrusted into it, like in the midst of it all going down kind of thing. And man, that was so close to the game. I'm glad we got to see more of, what was Joel's daughter's name? I'm sorry. It was
Sarah.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to see more of Sarah, see what she was like before it all happened. Because I remember in the video game, you really didn't see much of her. It was literally just get to the house, they talk a little bit about the watch and other stuff, go to bed, shit hits the fan. This time we got to see her go to school, kind of go to town. And it's funny when she was at the watch shop and like the guy's working, I was like, what are you talking about? We're closed at 7. It's only 3 o'clock. But when his wife or whoever that lady was working with him was like, go home, don't go, I was like, oh shit, this is happening. And it was such a thrilling way to do it. Like I could, and it's funny because she wasn't sure what it was, but like playing the game, I know exactly what's happening. It's like, holy shit, this is bad. This is not going to end well. It was just, I was on my toes the whole, like the first part of this episode, just because you saw play by play. What did you think of it?
Yeah, that comparison to Dawn of the Dead is really on point, because that's sort of like how it unfolded in that movie, where we're following Sarah Polly's character, and like she's not aware of what's going on around the world until it reaches her literal front doorstep. So to sort of have Sarah, following her around around the city, getting the watch fixed, it's like we get to see little hints that things are starting to unfold. So I really did enjoy that sort of slow build, because yeah, like you said, in the game, we're like in that scene with her and Joel on the couch, she falls asleep, wakes up, and then everything has gone to crap already, so it's a lot more quick and abrupt in the game. So I really enjoy that they sort of drew that out, also while letting us get to know Sarah a little bit more before she inevitably dies. So it makes that sort of loss a little bit more, it makes it hit a little bit more, I think, than than it would have for people like if have it happened like exactly in the game where we just get to meet her and then boom she's dead. Where it's like you know you needed to do that a little bit more in a TV or in a movie setting to get us to know a character and before we lose them.
No, absolutely, and like you said, how it expanded upon the original story, like following her going through that, and then meeting, seeing Tommy and Joel before it happened too, kind of seeing their dynamic a little bit. That Tommy was a bit of the screw up brother, and Joel was the one who had to pick up these, and that Joel was a combat veteran. I thought that was kind of a good way to kind of ground it, because throughout the game he's a very ferocious character, and you can kind of say, well, the apocalypse turns everybody like that, or some people like that. It's like, yes and no. It kind of grounded it a little bit for me, at least. I really like that aspect of it. But
so was it Joel or Tommy who was the vet? Because it was Tommy's truck that
oh, was it? I thought it
yeah,
was
that
his.
the sticker was on. So I mean, it could be both of them or Tommy, but yeah, either way, it does add a little bit more context to why either of these two guys are able to survive in the post apocalypse.
Then maybe it was Tommy. Then I'm not quite sure, but I mean, at least again, it just adds a little more depth to either one of those. It's probably Tommy though. You're probably right, because the rifle and stuff, he's a little bit off, and Joel's kind of more stable, or trying to be a stable father. So who knows? But anyways, I just really like the casting with that too. Gabriel Luna and Pedro Pascal not only look like a potentially big brothers, but they're very accurate to almost right out of the game. Especially Gabriel, man. He's got the longer face, the bit of the bigger nose, kind of like how Tommy does, and just Pedro Pascal. They got the hair and the beard right, and I'm sure there's plenty of those people that's like, well, they're not white, so it's not really to the game. It's like, who gives a shit, dude? It's a video game. It doesn't. If you have strong performances, who gives a fuck? Like, I don't care. So all that noise I just block out, and I'm like, dude, this is just spot on. I loved every minute of it.
Yeah, I mean, they completely nailed the spirit of the characters, the brother dynamic, the father-daughter dynamic. So, yeah, in terms of casting, they knocked it out of the park, in my opinion.
Yeah, and then before we keep going with the rest of the like, kind of the other parts that got us, what did you think about that intro with John Hannah, and then that one, I don't know that guy's name, the other actor, the younger actor's name, but I know he was in, like, Mythic Quest and a couple other stuff. I can't remember him, but what did you think of that little talk show scene?
Yeah, I mean that was really cool. Totally unexpected because that is not in the game at all.
Nope.
So to add like a little bit of context of what the the cordyceps fungus is, so it sort of like does a good job of letting the audience know like, okay, this is the thing that's going to be what the infection results from. So yeah, like adding that like sort of context, setting it in 1986 and then being like, this is something that they were talking about years ago, and to like years later like have that be the thing that like is the cause for this pandemic is like it's so ominous, especially the way that it plays out. Like, it's played like in that scene. It's so like it's joyful and stuff, but when he starts dropping like all these things, like if this happens, we lose. Like there's no cure for this. There's nothing we can do to stop it, and this thing will spread, violently. So it's like the way everyone just sort of like comes down from it, like, oh shit, like this would be awful. It's like, yeah.
I love that guy's reaction, because he's trying to be all cheeky about it, and they're having their good back and forth here and there, but that's when John Hannah's really laying the science down behind it. And apparently everything was talking about that on the internet today, just talking about how accurate that thought set is with the fungus and stuff. It really does put it into perspective, like, yes, this is a video game and this is a show, this is fictional, zombies aren't real and stuff. However, it's like, no, shit like this could happen. Like that's kind of why it's they placed it in that point. And I was reading something that was the same night or something that the Chernobyl, like the reactor went off. So it's literally like I think Neil or whoever, one of those guys, like one of the writers behind the show, was saying like, no, we basically set it up like that so it could literally happen at any point. You don't know when, but it can happen. So that's kind of the scary reality of it. But it also reminded me of like a throwback to I Am Legend, how like the doctor played by the lady from Stranger Than Fiction, she was also saying, oh, I cured cancer, like, the measles, we changed it so instead of being a bad virus, it's a good virus to help you. And it's like, oh, shit. As soon as the talk show happened, I was like, oh no, this is bad. We're already talking about the epidemic here. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah, like they're talking about it, and we know like okay, like what he says is gonna come true. So it's like it's bound to happen at some point, and we get to see it in the episode. So that was a great setup, and then followed up by a great payoff later on.
Yeah, and then when they're going through the town, I thought that the shot of them in the truck just figuring out frantically where can we go, like go right, go left, and it's just like militaries everywhere. And then the daughter's like, what if it's everywhere? Maybe that's why we can't go anywhere. And it was just like, oh, like when Joel looked at her, he's just like, that was the realization, like, oh, maybe she's right. We're not getting out of here, or we have to find a way out regardless. But I thought that was really well done, especially when they're caught in between either the crowd of infected people and all that stuff, and then there's a plane coming down behind him. It's like, oh shit, where do you go? It was such a great scene. Really built the tension, and just all that build up towards God damn it, I forgot. Sarah getting shot by the military guy. It was so sad. It was so well done though. I was like, damn. Just when you didn't think it could hit harder, it really did. They did a good job on that.
Dude, yeah, for real. Like, I mean, I've played the game many, many times, and, I've sort of been desensitized to it, in the game at least, but I knew this was coming, and when it hit, like, it got me. It really did get me, man. Like, the way that they played it off, and just the fact that it's, like, real characters, not, like, CGI models. I don't know. It did something to me where I'm like, I thought I was over this, and nah, it hit hard just the same. That was such a devastating scene, and it's the fact that we got to know her before this happened makes that even like hurt more. So it's like, damn. I mean, we knew it was coming, those of us who've played the game, but yeah, for me it hit again.
I haven't played the game in God knows how long, so that was just a whole flashback of like, oh, that's right, that's what happens, and it was just so shitty. But the other really thing I like is that when they flash forward 20 years past that, which I don't remember, was that in the game too, or did it just kind of like happened after a few years? I don't remember. I like I said, I don't really remember the very beginnings of the first game.
Yeah. So it happens very similarly, or right after the Sarah's death, it does a 20-year time jump, and that's where we sort of pick up the story, in modern day.
Yeah, that them expanding on the life of it now, like Joel is, when he's digging up, like basically helping burn the bodies and stuff. That little girl in the wheelchair, I thought they were gonna help and stuff, but then when you see the shoes on the bagged corpse, I was like, oh my god, they killed her. Like, and it was just really showing like the dark side of humanity. Like, oh yeah, they have a society, they have jobs, they have like what's the system, like a monetary system, like giving people the papers for food or cards or something like that. It's like, no, but you guys are still fucked up. You guys are basically just killing off anyone who comes in, so you can't help them or anything like that. It was just such a dark way of looking at it.
Well, it's because the kid was infected. That's why.
Was she infected? Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was a little confused on that.
When they do the reading, and I was a little confused too, because I didn't know which color meant what. But when the person did the reading and the thing came up red, and it was like, oh dang, it's like, damn it, like she's infected. So yeah, that's why they ended up killing her. Okay, yeah, they don't really like. It was very subtle because it's kind of like in the background, out of focus, and then it doesn't come up again until Ellie gets checked, and then it comes up red again too. So it's like, yeah, that's what it was. At first I thought so too. I was like, oh, they just killed her, but then rewatching it, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I missed it too.
Either way, it's still just dark, just like him just burning like a little kid's corpse, just throwing him down, and them trying to do this. And Joel's like lady friend, what was her name? It was Tess.
Yeah, Tess.
Were they that close in the game too, or were they more just kind of like friends ish? Well, I don't remember.
So in the game, they are, smuggling partners for sure. And there is a little bit of like a hint that they are like a little bit more intimate than that. But in this one, they flesh that out more. They definitely establish that they are, in a relationship, where in that game, they was sort of like is very plot centric in the beginning, where you kind of get up and go to go find Robert with her, and here they again like the other thing with Sarah, they flesh it out. They give you a little bit more time, and yeah, they establish that they are indeed a partners in more ways than one.
Domestic partners, yes, exactly. I thought that was really good, and we got to see Ellie and Marlene kind of link up. Because, yeah, I remember in the game, they were just like, you run into Marlene with Ellie already there, thinking, oh, okay, that's interesting. So I like that. And Bella Ramsey, like I said, I know we've talked about it before. She doesn't really look like the game character. I mean, given it's a fictional game, it's a video game. You can't really replicate that person. But she's got the spunk. Like when they were asking her, like, can you count to 10 slowly? And she was just like, when she got to the 8, she's like, fuck you. I was like, okay, that's Ellie right there. That's great. She's so fiery in it. Like, oh my god, I want to kick her in the shin, but that's just awesome. She's such a badass already out the gate. I loved it.
Yeah, no, they immediately in that scene where yeah, she kicks the food tray away, and then she does that whole accounting thing. I was like, yeah, this is Ellie. Like they completely nailed that sort of like rebellious, like snarky, like essence to her character. So I'm excited to see her more because yeah, the actress, Bella Ramsey, she stole the show in my opinion when she was Lady Mormont in the few scenes that we got from her in the last few seasons of Game of Thrones. So for me at least, when I saw that she was cast, I was like, that's perfect. Like she was great in that, and hopefully she'll be good in this. And yeah, this first scene with her was a great introduction, and I hope it quelled a lot of worries that you like people like you had where weren't sure coming in, but hopefully now she's won those people over.
Yeah, just because the only thing I saw her in was those few episodes of Game of Thrones. And she was great, don't get me wrong. She was such a cool character. But I was just like, oh, man, I don't know how this is going to be. But no, yeah, she quelled my worries on that, and it was so well done. And also I like that they have fleshed Joel out to be a much more gray character. Like, not only just being kind of like, not heartless, but more desensitized to like hurting who and like really like getting down and dirty if he has to. But when he's like dealing the pills and stuff to that guard, I was like, oh dang, he's slinging drugs. But at the same time, you do what you gotta do to survive, especially in a world like that. So I thought that was great. And correct me if I'm wrong, but the lady who played Marlene, she was the same person that played the video game character too, right? Or am I wrong?
Yes, I know that her and Troy and Ashley Williams are three actors who worked on the games, and she comes back as the actual character that she plays, Marlene in the game, and the other two, who were Joel and Ellie, they're going to be different characters in the show. We haven't met them yet, so we don't know like when or where they'll show up. But yeah, I think she's the only one that's from the game to live action that's actually playing the same character. So that's kind of cool. The voice, I heard it instantly. I was like, yeah, that fits, and just the fact that she gets to play the role again, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was just like, because okay, you don't really have to do much. You just kind of have to remember, what your character was like, and then just do it. At least this is a familiar character for her. It's not some random person. So I like that, and I like that she's much more connected to Ellie than we thought in the game. Because I don't remember how much they fleshed out their knowledge of each other, like their friendship or relationship, like Ellie and Marlene. But I like that she was the one who was like, who do you think put you in the academy? And like, it was me. She's like, are you my mom? And just, do I look like your fucking mom? Just, no. It was also that little way she said, like, no, I guess not. Like, that was exactly, I pictured how I could hear Ellie, the character, saying that too. So it's just, like, she's all surprised, but then she's like, wait, maybe not, now that I say it out loud, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. That was definitely one thing they made a lot more clear. Much like the Tess and Joel relationship side, here they definitely fleshed out more the Marlene and the Ellie side, because in the game I think we only find out like their real connection through like voice logs that you can like find out in the game, where it says that they have a history together. So I'm glad that they sort of put that up front here, so that way there's not a lot of guesswork going on. It's like, Marlene's been aware of Ellie for a while now, so yeah, I'm glad that they did that. So it's not like, how do they know each other? How does she know her? It's very like upfront.
Yeah, it's those tiny little things. They don't have to give a whole dialogue on it. It's just a little bit to be like, oh, okay, I get it. That makes much more sense. And just the way when they the other thing I really like too, given from the trailers and stuff, we've only seen a little bit, but when they see that one like dead clicker against the wall trying to get through the apartment and stuff, I was like, oh my god, that looks amazing. Just again, something right out of the game. I'm so glad they did that, because that's another thing I was worried about. Like, is the budget really gonna be able to recreate the clickers? Are they gonna be very minimal looking creatures that have, I don't know. It's just, it was one of those fears that I had with this game, because it's pretty artistic. So can they replicate that? And so far from the trailers and that little scene, I was like, yep, they definitely can.
Yeah, like it's so visually distinct that they can't do it wrong. They have to get it right, and they have to put the budget into it. And that's one of the things I'll say about this show. Like you, I was kind of worried at first. Like, are they gonna have the budget behind them to really do this world justice? Not just the character makeup and stuff, but the actual like a post-apocalyptic environment. And yeah, with the clicker thing up against the wall here, and then a shot that we get later on at the end of the show where it just shows the cityscape. It's like, okay, yeah, they got the budget and they're using it in the best way to bring it to life. So yeah, they completely nailed it. And hopefully, I mean, we haven't seen a clicker or an infected yet. I think we'll probably get one in the next episode for sure, but I think that's when we'll really know that if they've done it correctly. But if that's any indication, then yeah, they totally nailed it.
Yeah. Like I said, man, I just can't wait. And the way it ended off, where Tess was nervous, like, it's red, like, Joel, it's like, no, 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 I'm not infected. Like, look at this, look at the arm. I was like, oh, that's right. She definitely had to tell him somehow. So I forgot in the game how, but I thought that was a really great way to do it. And when you span out of the, like you were saying, that night scene where they're looking at the rest of the ruined city, it looked right out of the game, and you hear the clickers shrieking. I was like, oh god, this is great. I can't wait for next week, man. It sucks I have to wait a week for it, but it was too good.
It's just one of those things, man. It's like it doesn't come out all at once together, so we have to wait for the next one. But yeah, this like ended off in such a great spot where it's like, yeah, that cityscape shot. It's like, okay, now we're actually gonna go into and explore the world, and it looks like they have the set design and the budget behind it to do it justice. But I think my one criticism was that moment actually of the reveal that she's what she's telling them that she's immune and she's been infected for 3 weeks and nothing's happened. Just because in the game that cutscene is a little bit more fleshed out, there's a little bit more time. I have a feeling though that that's going to be the beginning of next episode, so I'll reserve that judgment for that upcoming scene, because there's no way that it could just be that like very quick moment. Like, the situations were different here, they have to like get out of that place quickly, and that one there's a little bit more time for them to sort of explore that. So yeah, that was just one of those things. I was like, oh man, I wanted that scene to happen. But again, I think it's one of those that are probably be the first scene of next week's episode.
Yeah, I think it was just, let's end on this point. We'll revisit that. That's going to be the way to kick off the next one. They get to a safe spot, and they're like, how the fuck are you like not immune to this? This doesn't make sense. And I think that's how it's going to lead off. I mean, that makes sense. There's no way they can just end on that bombshell and then act like nothing ever happened and just move on normally. Like, no, that would be dumb. I'm in your defense, I'm gonna say that'd be dumb, but I don't think it will be. Anything else pop out at you this episode, Burn, or did we cover all the stuff?
I mean, I think we covered it for the most part. I did enjoy the fleshing out more of like the whole Fedra versus like the Fireflies thing. How they're, I guess, seen as a sort of like terrorist group that just sort of torments the Fedra forces, and they've been doing it for 20 years and have done like gone nowhere. Again, this is one of those things in the game that it's sort of just like hinted at and it's like in the background. Here, I'm glad that they're pushing that more to the front, so we understand a little bit more what's going on in this world and like the different factions that are out there. So yeah, I did enjoy that sort of scene where Tess is with Robert and that car bomb goes off outside, and we sort of get an idea of like, oh, this is like an ongoing war that's been happening since the beginning of the outbreak.
Exactly. I just can't wait to see Nick Offerman as what's that guy's name again?
Oh, Bill. Yeah.
I can't wait to see him as Bill. I can't wait to see Gabriel Luna and his, apocalyptic look, like the older, more wiser Tommy. And
that's an interesting change too. In the game, Joel and Tommy haven't had contact for years, but here it's different. Like he's been contacting him presumably like for the last week to week, and now he hasn't received any sort of like transmission back. So that's sort of like the impetus for him to want to go and look for him. Like that's definitely a different character change here. That Joel is like before he meets Ellie here. Like he's like on like I'm wanting to leave so I can go look for my brother. Like that I think that makes a little bit more sense than the way it happens in the game where they haven't talked to each other, for years, and then all of a sudden, the game happens and it's like, oh, they meet again. It's like, no, that's not as realistic as it is set up here, where they have been in contact and then now we can expect them to meet at some point. It's not just, oh, brother in the beginning, gone, and then we'll see him again. It's like, oh, that's okay. Here it's like, okay, that makes more sense. Like he's been talking to him.
Yeah, I got to replay the first game because there's plenty of this that just like flew over my head, and I was like, oh my god, it's been way too long. I don't remember half of this, so that's why I'm kind of glad. Like the show reminds me so much of the game that I want to play it again, because even if I haven't played it, there's plenty of stuff with this I'd be like, okay, I know this shit wasn't in the game, or like this never happened. What the fuck are they doing, kind of thing. So, but everybody, what did you guys think of it? Our fellow ranters, did you love this episode? Are you intrigued by it? Did you ever play the game before watching this? We would love to know in the comments. So feel free to write down your thoughts. Let's keep the convo going. And again, guys, can't wait to have another year of rants with you all. I really appreciate it. And as always, everybody, stay bodacious and keep on ranting for the both of us. It's going to be a bodacious 2023.
Yeah, well, hopefully, man, if this is any indication, we're off to a good start, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, everybody, as always, be good, be safe, and we'll catch y'all on next one.